What's up, Good Slammers? This is Bow and Arrow, and this is the show where I talk about and give my thoughts and opinions on the most recent NXT show. Now, before we get to all that, we've got an announcement. NXT came out and announced that instead of the next NXT Takeover being called NXT Takeover Houston, it's actually going to be called NXT Takeover WarGames. So those of you that don't know, WarGames is an old match type where basically there's two rings and there's a Hell in a Cell type cage surrounding those rings, and it usually consists of 2 or 3 teams, and those 2 or 3 teams usually have 3 or 4 superstars on each team. So yeah, I think that's going to be the main event for the next NXT Takeover. I'm really excited. You know, I think this is going to be the first WarGames match in like 16 or 17 years. So that's really exciting. Now, I know who's going to be in the WarGames match, and you guys might know too. If you don't, let me know in the comments section if you want to know. I can message you or just put in the comments, or you can just be like me and found it on the internet. Yeah, so NXT WarGames, Takeover WarGames, that'll be the next NXT Takeover in November. Triple H announced that. Triple H, thank you. It's going to be awesome. So then let's get into the actual NXT show. We had Ruby Riott versus Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. They've been kind of going at it for the past couple weeks. Last week, Nikki Cross came and helped out Ruby Riott. Ruby Riott was like, hey, you know, we're not, she said in an interview, we're not friends, but if she gets in my way, like, just don't get in my way, basically. So Nikki Cross shows up again this week, and basically it was copy and paste from last week. Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross win. They didn't really have any type of interaction or didn't say anything to each other, which was really, I don't know, I want something like that, because it was just copy and paste from last week. It was kind of, not really boring, but it was just like, oh, I've seen this before. Like, it just wasn't that entertaining to me, so I'd like them to kind of go maybe somewhere different for next week. After that, we had Lars Sullivan. He did an interview backstage. He says that he's always in control of his rage. It's not an issue for him. Then he said Danny Burch has challenged him to a match next week, so we're going to see them in action next week. Now, Lars Sullivan, he's been dominating the past few weeks, just running through guys, and Danny Burch, he's a tough SOB, so maybe Lars Sullivan will meet his match next week. We'll see. Then they announced Sanity versus the Undisputed Era in 2 weeks in a 6-man tag match. That's going to be good. I'm excited for that. Then we had Lio Rush versus Aleister Black. Now, I didn't know a lot about Lio Rush. He actually won the 2016 Top Prospect Tournament for Ring of Honor, so he's a former Ring of Honor wrestler. Then Aleister Black was coming out, and the Velveteen Dream actually attacked Lio Rush. And actually, I looked this up too. The Velveteen Dream and Lio Rush actually used to be tag partners on the independent circuit, so that's kind of interesting. And then, so Velveteen Dream attacks Lio Rush, and the Velveteen Dream was yelling to Aleister Black. He's like, hey, say my name, acknowledge me. You know, I'm not really sure what that means or what he's trying to do. Maybe trying to get inside Aleister Black's head, but interesting. So we'll see where that goes next week. After that, we had Kairi Sane versus Aliyah. Hope I'm saying that right. This was Kairi Sane's official NXT debut. She won the Mae Young Classic. I didn't know Aliyah that well. I guess she's been in NXT for a while, mostly on house shows, but now she's kind of making her way to the actual tapings. But she just basically jobbed out to Kairi Sane, and Kairi Sane wins. Now, I have to say, Kairi Sane is probably maybe one of my top picks for winning the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Takeover WarGames. You know, she won the Mae Young Classic. You know, that was the first time I actually seen her in a match, and she looked really decent. She looked really good. And then following that up, they had an announcement next week. We're going to see Nikki Cross versus Liv Morgan versus Peyton Royce in a qualifying match for one of the spots for the NXT Women's title at TakeOver WarGames. So it's going to be a Fatal 4-Way at TakeOver WarGames for the NXT Women's title, the vacant title. So yeah, next week, whoever wins will take that number 2 spot. Let's see. After that, then we had next week. We're also going to see Johnny Gargano face off against Andrea C.S. Almas. That rematch that he's been asking for. What are my animals doing? Then the main event of the night was Roderick Strong versus Drew McIntyre for the NXT Championship. I was excited for this match, and it did not disappoint. I'll tell you that. At one point, Roderick Strong, he does like a back suplex to Drew on like the steel steps, and it was brutal looking. It was very back and forth for the most part, with Roderick Strong being very aggressive and somewhat maybe even coming out on top for a lot of the match. Like I said, they went back and forth. Drew actually ends up winning with his Claymore kick, so he retains the NXT Championship. And after the match, they shake hands, and Roderick says that this isn't over. And then Roderick Strong starts walking backstage, and he's met by the Undisputed Era. Now, I thought maybe the Undisputed Era was going to keep, attacking. They've been attacking people randomly for the past, couple weeks, so I thought maybe they're going to attack Roderick Strong now. But no, they actually just kind of exchanged a few words. Couldn't really tell what they said, but Roderick, they left, and Roderick Strong just looked confused, I guess. So, not really sure where they fit into Roderick Strong. I know they've been kind of they attacked Drew McIntyre a couple times, so I'm not really sure what they said to Roderick Strong, but maybe next week we'll find out. So yeah, that was NXT. Pretty decent show as usual. A few things to take away from this. Remember, where does Nikki Cross fit into the whole Ruby Riott, Billy Kay Roy's feud? We'll see, hopefully. Aleister Black, the Velveteen Dream feud is getting a little more interesting. Kairi Sane wins in her NXT debut. I think she's going to be one of the favorites going into NXT Takeover WarGames. Next week, we'll have the triple threat for a spot for the NXT Women's Championship. Nikki Cross, Liv Morgan, and Peyton Royce will be doing that. And Drew McIntyre retains his NXT Championship. So yeah, that was NXT. If you missed my 205 Live recap, you can check that out right here. Yeah, don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Remember, we have a weekly-ish podcast where we talk about all pro wrestling news, and we give our predictions for the most recent pay-per-view. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, actually, you're going to get our predictions for Hell in a Cell. You can find that podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, and SoundCloud. Just search Get Slammed Wrestling. This has been Bow and Arrow with your NXT recap. Thanks for watching.